ओ सहना ववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। We are studying the fourth sutra of the Brahma Sutras, and we are now looking at the argument by Bhagavad-pada Shankaracharya Deva, setting aside the objections raised by Mimamsaka philosophers, that is the Purva Paksha or opponent. Now, one of the contentions of the Purva Paksha, one of the arguments of the Purva Paksha is that just like any other action, ritual prescribed by the Vedas, contemplation on Brahman is also another ritual which is prescribed by the Vedas, and therefore following that prescription or injunction of the Vedas, a person contemplates on Brahman and thus gets the knowledge of Brahman. So that also essentially is following Vedic ritual. That objection, that contention is being now quashed by Bhagavad-pada Shankaracharya. He says, Apicha, further also, Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. In the Mundaka Upanishad, it is said, Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. The knower of Brahman, Brahma Veda, upon knowing Brahman, Brahma Eva Bhavati, becomes Brahman itself. So the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman itself. What does it mean? Why Bhavati means becomes? So usually we use this word becomes to signify that something has changed, something has transformed or changed, become something which it was previously not. It was not previously that thing. It has converted or changed or transformed into a particular something other than what it previously was. Here, that is not the meaning. Here, Bhavati means avajanati, means comes to know. So, Brahma vid Brahmaiva Bhavati, Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. On knowing Brahman, a person knows Brahman. Upon knowing Brahman, that person becomes Brahman itself. That means the person knows that the person is not different from Brahman. That is the knowledge of Brahman. The knowledge of Brahman is the knowledge of identity with Brahman. Jiva Brahma Aikya. The identity of the Atman with Brahman. Atma Brahma Atma Aikya. So when somebody says, once a person knows, that is when the Upanishad says, when the Rishi says, the moment somebody knows Brahman, that person becomes Brahman. It does not mean that the person was not Brahman earlier. It just means that that person has got the knowledge now, has realized that I was Brahman all along. So Tattvamasi, says Shvetaketu's father. 9 times he repeats this, and finally Shvetaketu understands that he is one with the ultimate reality. He is the ultimate reality. So here Brahmaiva Bhavati, becomes Brahman itself, means knows that that person is Brahman itself. So basically, what is knowledge of Brahman? To know that one is Brahman. So it is not like one is doctor, one is advocate, one is teacher. It is not something which is distinguishable or which is separate, distinct from others. It is something for which there is no other. So ekameva advitiyam. And so Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. So here It's instantaneous. What is instantaneous? The knowledge of Brahman and moksha, the fruit of the knowledge of Brahman, that is moksha. Moksha means being freed from the transmigratory cycle of repeated birth and death. That is moksha. That happens immediately. Then in the Mundaka Upanishad itself, it is told, Kshiyante cha asya karmani tasmin drishte paravare. Asya karmani shiyante. That person's karmani, actions and the fruits of actions. That person's actions and fruits of actions are destroyed. When what happens? That person, tasmin drishte paravare. When that tasmin, that is Atman, Brahman, that Atman and Brahman, which is para avare. That means it is both para high and it is avara, means it is low. So here the indication is towards the absolute and the relative. The world or the universe is also based on Brahman. Without Brahman, there would be no universe. The universe is based on Brahman. Just like without rope, there would be no snake. So even when we perceive snake, nothing happens to the rope. The rope continues to remain as rope, even when we perceive snake in that. Similarly, even when we perceive the universe continues to remain as Brahman. Brahman does not become universe. So this is what is told here. Tasmin drishte paravare. Brahman as both the one and the many, the one and the manifold, the absolute and the manifold, in both its forms. Brahman, when one sees Brahman, when one understands that what I see and what is seeing is essentially one. The drik is, that is the seer, is not different from the drishya. So it has to go through the sadhana. The sadhana is na drishya vastu, that I am not the seen, but I am the seer. And finally, essentially, one understands that there is nothing to see. There is only the seer. And whatever appearance or apparent reality one sees in this universe, that is not different from oneself. So Brahma and the Jagat, they are essentially one, not in its manifoldness, but in its essential nature. This Jagat universe is one. So the one and the many are the same. Tasmin drishte para avare. Then in the Taittiriya Upanishad it is said. So the idea is, the moment one gets the knowledge of self in both its microcosm and macrocosm levels, immediately asya karmani shiyante, all the actions and the fruits of actions are destroyed. That means that person becomes mukta, gets moksha. That person gets moksha. That means that person does not have to anymore exhaust the fruits of one's actions. Anandam brahmano vidvan na bibheti kutaschana. In the Taittiriya Upanishad it is also said, Anandam brahmano vidvan kutaschana na bibheti. So a person who knows, who has known the Brahman, which is Anandam, which is of the nature of absolute bliss, that person, na kutaschana bibheti, does not fear anything, does not fear anything. So this is said in the Taittiriya Upanishad. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, we all know there is this famous statement, Dvitiyat vai bhayam bhavati. Fear is caused by Dvitiyat, by duality. That is, by the cognition of the other, by knowing that there is somebody other so there is fear. If there is somebody to fear, then there will be fear. If there is somebody or something to fear, then there will be fear. If there is nobody and nothing to be afraid of, then how will there be fear? So dvitiyat by bhayam bhavati. It's not just true about fear. It is true about all the human emotions, jealousy, anger, love, hatred, everything is there because of the other. When you see the other, when you see duality, when you see distinction, then this comes. So when a person realizes the Ananda Brahman, which is of the nature of absolute bliss, then that person also realizes that there is no other. There is no one from whom I have to fear. So here also Shankaracharya is quoting, Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya Deva is quoting this to show that there is no difference or there is no interval in time between the realization of Brahman and moksha. So it is simultaneous. The moment you realize Brahman, the moment you realize that you are Atman Brahman, immediately you get moksha. Abhayam vai janaka prapto asi. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Abhayam vai janaka prapto asi. So, O Janaka, Abhayam vai prapto asi. You have definitely, vai means indeed, you have of course or surely or indeed, you have attained Abhayam. Abhayam means fearlessness. How Abhayam? Because you have understood your true nature. So because you have understood your true nature, you have attained Abhayam. You have attained fearlessness. Then tad atmanam eva aved aham brahmasmi iti tasmat tat sarvam abhavat. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad itself, it is said tad atmanam eva aved, that atmanam, that means the self knows itself. The self knows itself. Avet knows itself. Aham brahmasmi iti. Aham brahmasmi. By this statement, aham brahmasmi, I am Brahman, the self knows itself. Self understands its own nature, its true nature. And tasmat, therefore, or because of that, tat sarvam abhavat. Because of understanding that I am Brahman, that is, self understands that it is Brahman. Self understands itself. Self understands itself. Because of that knowledge of one's own self, tat sarvam abhavam bhavat. Tat sarvam abhavat. Sorry. Tat sarvam abhavat. So it became everything. It became everything, or it became all this universe. Why did it become all this universe? Earlier we saw Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. The moment a person knows Brahman, that person knows that one is Brahman. That is the knowledge of Brahman, to know that you are Brahman. So nothing comes from outside. It is like when you are habituated to wear spectacles. Sometimes it so happens that though you are already wearing spectacles, you forget that you are wearing spectacles and you search for spectacles. And then you realize that, oh, you're already wearing it. So the spectacles did not come from anywhere. You are already wearing it. It was right there on your nose. But you forgot because you have been accustomed, you have been habituated with that spectacle covering your eyes. So you forgot and you started searching. And then finally you understood that it is there. It was all the time there. All along it was there. Similarly, you are Brahman. Even before you understand this, even before you realize this, you are Brahman. But after realizing also you are Brahman, what happens is ignorance goes away. The knowledge was always there. It was covered. It was always there. So Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. When a person knows Brahman, also understands that one is Brahman alone, nothing else. Brahma eva, Brahman alone. And when a person understands that I am Brahman, nothing else, I am Brahman itself, then this universe is based on Brahman. The material cause and the instrumental cause of this universe. Material cause in Sanskrit is called Upadana Karana. Instrumental cause is Nimitta Karana. Both the instrumental cause and material cause of this universe is Brahman. So the moment a person understands Aham Brahmasmi, Tad Atmanameva Aved, through this statement that I am Brahman, the self knows itself. When the self knows itself, it understands that it has become everything. It has become everything. Tat sarvam abhavat. Also, not that the self knows itself and then it becomes everything. To begin with, self was everything. Only there was a problem of ignorance. The moment ignorance was removed, Brahman, I am Brahman, that idea will come. And along with that, one will know that I am everything. Because without Brahman, there is no universe. Without rope, there is no snake. So this is what the Rishi sings in the Sukta, that I am Ratri, I am Rudre Bihi, that I am the Rudra, Vasubhish Charamyaham Adityai. Like that, the Rishika in the Vedas, she sings, I am the Rudra, I am the Vasu. All this I am Indra, all this. Why? Because I am the entire universe. So that is the idea. And then once one attains this state, so again here Shankaracharya is quoting these passages from the scriptures to show that there is no delay between the knowledge of Brahman and the attainment of moksha, or one becoming free from the repeated cycles of births and deaths. Then in the Ishavasya Upanishad it is said, Tatra ko moha kashokah ekatvam anupashyatah. When one anupashyatah realizes ekatvam, indivisible reality, the oneness, the one, capital O, the one. When one realizes the one, then tatra, there means at that time, there, ko moha ka shokah. What is delusion? Where is suffering? There is no misery or suffering, there is no delusion. Why would anyone suffer? Because there is a ring of karmas, that's why. So usually all rings bring suffering. Thoughts to ponder. So anyway, so there is a ring, this ring of repeated birth and death. And why does this come? Because of the ring of action and the fruits of actions. Why actions come? Because of desires. Why desires come? Because of previous actions. So why these previous actions produce desire? Because we think that I am the doer, I am the agent, I have the idea that I am the doer, I am the experiencer. Kartrutva, bhoktrutva. So this is a ring. It's a continuous circular cyclical motion. Tatra ko moha ka shokah ekatvam anupashyata. The moment a person understands that this is all one indivisible reality, then there is, where is tatra ka ko moha, means where is delusion there? Where is misery there? That means there is no misery or delusion. Iti eva madhyaha. So starting with these kinds of passages, that means like this passage, these passages, Shrutayo in the Vedas, Brahma Vidya Anantarameva Moksham Darshayantya Antyo. So that means Brahma Vidya Anantarameva, just after the, immediately after, Anantaram, immediately after the knowledge of Brahman, Brahma Vidya, Moksham Darshayantya. Moksham has been shown. So it has been shown by the Vedas that just after, immediately after the knowledge of Brahman is attained, a person gets moksha. So by showing this, Madhye Karya Antaram Varayanti, they set aside, or they obviate, or they preclude, or they remove the necessity of. What? Necessity of Karya Antaram, Madhye Karya Antaram. So between the knowledge of attaining of the knowledge of Brahman and moksha, there is nothing else which has to be done. Madhye means in between. Karya Antaram, some other activity. Varayanti is not talked of, means it is avoided. Varayanti, it is avoided. Why is it avoided? Because not necessary. Because it is just in a manner of speaking, we say Brahma Jnana, Moksha, etc. In reality, Brahma Jnana means moksha. Brahma Vidya means moksha. The moment you attain the knowledge of Brahman, then there is moksha. There is nothing extra to be done. Tatha, also, tad haitat pashyan rishihi Vamadevaha pratipede aham manuhu abhavam suryascha. So this is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. What is said here? He said, Tadha etad pashyan. So seeing, tadha etad, that, tad, that, etad, this, that is this. That is this. That means that Brahman is this Atman. That Brahman is this Atman. Having understood that, tada etat pashyan. Pashyan, seeing. Seeing means here understanding, realizing. Rishihi Vamadevaha. So the Vamadeva Rishi pratipede, realized. What is it? What does he realize? Pratipede, he realized. Aham manuhu abhavam suryascha. So aham manuhu abhavam. I was Manu. Manu is the ruler of one Manvantara. One epoch, we may say. It is not quite the translation, but for the want of better word, we can say epoch. So one epoch, the person who rules that is called Manu. And so I was Manu. Suryam cha, I also was Surya. So a person who realizes that one is Brahman can think that that person is anything in the universe and everything in the universe, and the person is universe, because Brahman is the substratum. Brahman is the foundation for everything. So a person can think, and it will be not wrong. That person will be thinking, I have, just as I was telling earlier, the Rishika says, Aham Rudrebir Vasubhish Charamyaham, like that. So I am Rudra, I am the Rudras, I am the Vasu. Similarly here, Vamadeva Rishi has suddenly realized that Aham Manu Abhavam, I was Manu, and also I was Suryascha, I was also Surya, that means I was also the sun god. Iti, in this passage, Brahma Darshana Sarvatma Bhavayoho Madhye Kartavya Antara Varanaya Udaharyam. So this passage is Udaharyam, is fit to be cited, fit to be illustrated. Udaharyam. It is a passage to be illustrated, or it should be cited. It should be shown as example, presented as example. Why? Because in this passage, it is told Brahma Darshana, the realization of Brahman, Sarva Atma Bhavayoho Madhye. So between Madhye, between the realization of Brahman, that means the knowledge of Brahman, the dawning or arising of the knowledge of Brahman, and Sarva Atma Bhavayoho. So between the dawning of the knowledge of Brahman and between the Bhava, that is the state of Sarva Atma, that I am everything. Sarva Atma Bhava, I am everything. between the state of knowledge of Brahman and the state of identifying oneself with everybody. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. Everything, this indeed, all this indeed, khalu, indeed is Brahman. The moment a person realizes this truth, immediately that person becomes one with the universe. So again, here I use the word become. It does not mean that person becomes. The person was always one with the universe, realizes that fact. So there is no difference between these two states. And so there is no interval of time. Madhye, there is no time interval. And so Madhye Kartavya Antara Varanaya, for the purpose of avoiding or obviating, precluding, removing the necessity of Kartavya Antara. Kartavya Antara means some other activity, some other action, some other ritual. So the moment a person gets Brahma Darshana, realization of Brahman, and between that and Sarvatma Bhava, that means feeling one with all, one with the universe, there is no Kartavya Antara, there is no activity to be engaged in. And to remove the possibility of any activity between these two, because it's not possible. Removing the possibility means it is not possible. Here the word has been used second time, Varanaya. Earlier it was Madhya Karyantram Varayanti. So it is precluded, it is avoided, it is obviated. All these words we can use for that to give the meaning. But then when we use these words, there's a problem. The problem is one thinks that somebody is avoiding that particular situation. When I say avoiding a particular situation, obviating, precluding a particular situation, that means there was the possibility that that situation could have happened. So I avoid that person. I don't want to talk to person Mr. X. So I avoid him. When I see him 100 meters away from me, I go back and take a route which will be maybe 1 kilometer longer than the route I was supposed to take, but I will avoid. When I say this, I have avoided him. I had avoided the problem. Wow, such a big problem I have avoided. Like that, when I say, that means there was the possibility that the problem could become a problem, that I could get caught up in the problem. So here also Varayanti means that you have avoided or you have precluded. But here the idea is, though it is how it has been expressed, the idea is quite different. Varayanti, avoided or precluded or obviated. Here there is no necessity because it cannot be a possibility. So after Brahma Darshana and between Brahma Darshana and Sarvatma Bhava, there cannot be Karyantaram. There cannot be any other activity. It is not possible. Kartavya Antaram is not possible. It is not possible. So Karyantaram or Kartavya Antaram, the performance of some other activity is not even possible. So though Shankaracharya uses the word Varana, that means it has been avoided, that is just in the manner of speaking, because only such a thing is avoided which is possible, which is even a distant possibility, but which is possible. So we avoid. We sometimes go to great lengths to avoid. So here, that is not what is meant. Here the idea is that's even for manner of speaking, we don't need to think of that possibility. Even that logically speaking, or even thought wise, at the level of thought, we don't have to think of that possibility, because as it has been told, Shiyante chasya karmani tasmin drishte paravare. The moment a person realizes the microcosm and macrocosm, the one and the many, the moment the person realizes all the actions and the fruits of actions are exhausted. So Udaharyam, it is illustrated or it is shown as example. It is cited here to prove, all these passages are cited here to prove or to establish that there is no difference or there is no time interval or there is nothing to be done in between the arising of the knowledge of Brahman and the feeling of oneness, bhava, feeling of oneness with all, or becoming one with all. Again, the word is becoming I am using, but it is already the state. Yatha, for example, Tishtan Gayati. So here another example is given. That is the beauty of Shankaracharya's commentary. He comes down to the most mundane level to teach profound realities. That is the greatness of great teachers, avatar, incarnations, prophets like Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, he uses examples which are so common, and he explains abstruse truths of spirituality. So here also Shankaracharya says, Yatha, for example, Tishtan Gayati iti. Tishtan Gayati. So Gayati sings. Tishtan, standing. Tishtan, standing. So a person does not dance and sing, stands and sings. Iti, when that statement is given, that means Tishtan Gayati. That means that person is singing while standing. While standing, that person is singing. Or in a standing position, that person is singing. Iti, by this statement, Tishtati Gayatyoho Madhye Tat Kartrikam Karyantaram Na Asti Iti Gamyate. So in between these two, that is standing and singing, Tishtati Gayatyoho, in between the two actions or activities of standing and singing, Madhye Tat Kartrikam. Tat Kartrikam means by that person, Tat Kartrikam, which has that person as the Karta. Kartru. That means where that person is doing. Tat Kartrikam means that person is doing. So it's a bit roundabout way to say that nothing is something done by that person. Something done by that person, Tat Kartrikam means where that person is the doer. Karya Antaram, some other act which has to be done. Karya means that which has to be done. Karya is not just action, it is action which has to be done. Karma is action, but Karya means that which has to be done. So Karya Antaram, something which has to be done in between, or something which has to be done, any other act which has to be done. Na asti is not there. Iti gamyate. This is gamyate, understood or implied, or this is understood. So what is the meaning when Tishtan Gayati, sings standing? That does not mean that a person has to do something in between. So stands and sings, just stands and sings. So there is nothing else given there. Similarly, here also, between the state of realizing Brahman and Sarvatma Bhava, the state of feeling one with all, there is nothing else to be done, because that is automatic. That is automatic. There is nothing to be done. So if one realizes Brahman, automatically that person will feel one with everything. Then further, Shankaracharya elaborates, Tvam hi naha pita yo asmakam avidyayaha param param tarayasi. Prashna Upanishad. So Prashna Upanishad, there it is told, Tvam hi naha pita, Tvam, you, he indeed, naha, our, pita, father. So you are indeed our father, yaha, who, asmakam avidyayaha param param tarayasi. So you are indeed our father, who avidyayaha, of ignorance, param, the other, param, side or other bank or other shore, tarayasi, you are carrying us across, or you are ferrying across. So here in the Prashna Upanishad it is said that you are indeed our father, who ferries us across to the other shore of ignorance. To the other shore of ignorance means to transcend ignorance, to go beyond ignorance. So if one goes beyond ignorance, what will happen? That person will go to the opposite of ignorance. Means what? That person will know oneself. So here ignorance means ignorance not of any particular empirical thing. Ignorance means of oneself. ignorance of oneself. Then Shrutam hi eva me bhagavad drishebhyah tarati shokam atmavit iti saha aham bhagavah shochami tamma bhagavan shokasya param tarayatu. Chandogya Upanishad, in this, that shokam tarati atmavit, tarati shokam atmavit, this is oft quoted. Shrutam hi eva me bhagavad drishebhyah. So shrutam hi eva me by me, shrutam, it has been heard, it has been heard, hi eva, indeed, indeed I have heard, that is what is told. Indeed I have heard. What? Bhagavad drishebhyah. Bhagavat drishebhyah. Bhagavat means person, sir. Bhagavat, sir. Oh, sir, people like you. From people like you, I have heard. What have I heard? Tarati shokam atmavit. That atmavit, the knower of Atman, Brahman, what does that person do? Tarati shokam. That person crosses, transcends. The person transcends shokam, sorrow. Why the person will transcend sorrow? Mosquito bites you. If you think you are the body, then you are in deep trouble now, because you don't know which mosquito has bitten you, whether it has got dengue, whether it has got malaria, and so many things. Malaria also, there are two types of malarias. One is called Vivax, another is falciparum. Why am I telling you all these things? Just for time pass. So the point is that the mosquito has bitten you. Now you will, if you think yourself to be the body, you will be in deep misery because of not knowing what will happen to the body. Simple, it will die. That's all. What else will happen? But anyway, you are afraid of the whatever will happen to the body and the mind, and so you will be in sorrow. But a person who has understood that the person is not the body and the mind, there is no cause for sorrow. So body and the mind, okay, this body will go, another body will take. What is there? Doesn't matter. In the beginning, when there was so much internet connection, was not that people were afraid of losing their mobile phones. Now Android also has come, and internet connection is that people are like, oh, throw this phone, new phone will buy. Why? Money also is there. Of course, that is very important. Money also is there, and somebody said EMI also is there. So that is more important. So then they will throw this phone and take another phone. Why? All contacts are all stored in the cloud. So nothing is lost. I'm getting a new phone. Like that, in the Bhagavad Gita, the example has to be changed. Yatha vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya. So that is like in a vasansi jirnani, in a hut. So vasansi, not hut, sorry, in a clothes, clothes, the worn out clothes you throw, and then what do? You put new clothes. Navani grihnani. So you take new clothes. Similarly, body, worn out body you throw and take new body. Now they have to write whatever outdated mobile you throw and buy new mobile. Like that, this worn out body you give up and take new body. So whatever, the long and the short of the story is that if a person is thinking that that person is the body and the mind, problem, or is panchakosha, then problem. But if that person knows that I am not the body and the mind, I am Atman, Brahman, then there is no problem. There is no cause for suffering, because suffering happens only in the realm of ignorance, only in these 5 koshas. So, tarati shokam atmavid. So I have heard, sir, from people like you, from people, honorable people like you, I have heard that it is told that tarati shokam atmavid, a person iti, that a person who attains the knowledge of oneself transcends sorrow. Sa aham bhagavah shochami. So, sir, I myself, saha aham, I myself, shochami, I am now bhagavah, oh sir, shochami, I am sad. I am shochami, I am sad. So, tamma bhagavan shokasya param tarayatu. See, I have heard that it is possible People who know their true self, they transcend or they cross shoka or sorrow. So now I have heard from people like you, honorable people like you. Now, so what? I am now in shoka. I am now in sorrow. And so please, Bhagavan, Tamma means I am in such a miserable condition. Bhagavan, oh sir, shokasya param tarayatu. Please, please carry me or ferry me across shoka, the other shore, param, the other shore of sorrow. So this is a request. Then in the Chandogya Upanishad itself, this is from the Chandogya Upanishad. Chandogya Upanishad, another sentence is quoted from Chandogya Upanishad. Tasmai mridita kashayaya tamasah param darshayati Bhagavan Sanat Kumaraha. So what is told? Tasmai, to that person. Mridita kashayaya. Mridita kashayaya. Mridita means cleaned. Kashayaya. So cleansing one of impurities. Mridita kashayaya means cleaning one of impurities. Tamasaha param darshayati. Bhagavan Sanat Kumara. So Sanat Kumara, the revered or honorable Sanat Kumara, showed the other shore of darkness. Tamasaha param, the other shore, the opposite shore of darkness. That means light, obviously. After cleansing that person of impurities, that means after cleaning that person's sukshma sharira. After cleaning that person's sukshma sharira, this person is showing Bhagavan Sanat Kumara, honorable Sanat Kumara. He is showing Tamasa Param Darshayati, the other shore of the darkness. That means knowledge. Iti eva madhyaha. In all these, or in statements like this, these Shrutayo, the Vedas, Moksha Pratibandha Nivritti Matrameva Atma Jnanasya Phalam Darshayanti. So, Vedas, what are they doing? They are Darshayanti, they are showing us. They are showing us. What are they showing? Moksha Pratibandha Nivritti Matrameva. Matrameva, only, or that alone. What alone? That means not anything more than, nothing more than. What? Moksha Pratibandha Nivritti. Pratibandha means obstacle. Badha, obstacle. Pratibandha. Nivritti means removal of moksha. So, moksha Pratibandha Nivritti. Removal of the obstacles to moksha. Whatever is in the way to moksha, whatever is obstructing us from attaining moksha, that is nivritti matram eva. Only removing that alone, atma jnanasya phalam. That alone is the phalam or fruit of atma jnana, knowledge of Atman or Brahman. Same thing. Knowledge of Atman or Atma jnana or Brahma jnana. Same thing. Because Atman is Brahman. Atman and Brahman are same thing. So Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana, same thing. So knowledge of self, phala, the fruit of the knowledge of self or the fruit of the knowledge of Brahman is Moksha Pratibandha Nivritti Matram eva, is the removal of obstacles to moksha. Nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. That is the only fruit of the knowledge of self. Darshayanti. This is shown by the Shrutayaha. Shrutayaha. That means by the scriptural passages, Vedic passages. Tathacha. Similarly, or in the same manner, or to the same effect, Acharya Pranitam Nyaya Upabrihitam Sutram Dukkha Janma Pravritti Dosha Mithya Jnananam Uttara Apaye Tadanantara Apayat Apavargaha Iti Mithya Jnana Apayascha Brahma Atmaikatva Vijnanat Bhavati. So, Tathacha, in the same manner, similarly, or to the same effect, or with the same meaning, Acharya Pranitam. Acharya Pranitam means Pranitam, presented by or composed by, written by Acharya. Acharya means Guru. Acharya Pranitam. Nyaya Upabrimhitam. Nyaya Upabrimhitam. Upabrimhitam means made strong, strengthened. Upabrimhitam, strengthened by Nyaya, by logic. Upabrimhitam, Nyaya Upabrimhitam, strengthened by logic or reason. Strengthened by logic or reason. What is the statement? Sutram, this sutra. So this is sutra, but not from Brahma Sutra. This is from Nyaya Sutra. Nyaya Sutra, written by Rishi Gotama. So Gotama is the person who started or who established, is the proponent of the theistic philosophical school. When I say theistic, it means the proponent of the philosophical school, which is called Astikya Darshana. There are 6 schools which are called, so they may not be theistic in the sense of the word theism as used in the Western philosophy. That is where they believe in God. May not be that. But here the meaning is Astikya means those who believe in Vedas. We have 6 darshanas: Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, Vedanta. All these 6 darshanas or 6 philosophies, they believe in the validity or authority of the Vedas. And one among these 6 philosophies is Nyaya philosophy. So Nyaya philosophy, for all these philosophies, there are sutras. We now don't have the Sankhya Sutras. It is the first philosophy propounded by Kapila Muni. But the original sutras are not available to us. But all other schools of thought, we have the sutras with us. So there in Nyaya Sutra, that is propounded by Gautama Rishi, there, this sutram is there. This is the second sutra of the Nyaya Sutras. Dukkha Janma Pravritti Dosha Mithya Jnananam. Dukkha Janma Pravritti Dosha Mithya Jnananam. So, dukkha means sorrow, misery. Janma means birth. Pravritti means endeavor, to do something, effort, endeavor. Dosha means defect. Mithya Jnana means false knowledge or wrong knowledge, erroneous knowledge, erroneous cognition, false cognition, mithya. So it is something which is not true, but you cognize it nonetheless. So when you see a row in darkness, you see a snake there. It is not true cognition. It is not a valid cognition. It's not, it is wrong. It is incorrect because there is no snake. But nonetheless, you have that cognition. You do see. It is not that you don't see. So that is why it is called mithya. Mithya jnana, knowledge which is false. So how can somebody have a false knowledge? Because of ignorance. Because of ignorance. So here what is said? Uttara Uttara Apaye. Uttara means after. Uttara means again another after. So after Apaye means removal. On removing, after means successive removal. So when one after the other, these things are removed or destroyed. Apaya means removed. Apaya means to remove from, to set aside. Apaya. So remove from one's path, you can say. One after the other. One after the other. So they like that. dukkha, janma, pravritti, dosha, mithya jnanam, like that, one after the other are removed. Tadanantara apayad apavargah. So, tad anantara apayat. Uttara apaye. The moment a person removes something, immediately what happens? On the removal of the previous thing, the successive thing is removed. So one particular thing is removed, like say pravritti is removed, endeavor, that is removed. Then dosha defect is also removed. So one thing is removed after the immediately preceding thing is removed. So like that, one after other, everything is removed. That is apavarga. That is apavarga. Apavarga means moksha. So the term used in the Nyaya Sutras for moksha is apavarga. Apavarga iti. So in this manner it is told. There also, so here Shankaracharya is saying that you see, it is not just that the Vedantins are saying. You have to understand, it's not that the Vedantins, Advaita Vedantins are saying. Even Nyaya Sutra, it is told like this. So, Mithya Jnana Apayascha, that means here it is very clear that Mithya Jnana Apayascha, the termination or removal of Mithya Jnana, false knowledge, Brahma Atmaikatva Vijnanat Bhavati. Here also it is very simply, we can understand that Brahma Atma Ekatva Vijnana, the Vijnana or the knowledge or realization of Brahman and Atma Ekatva, the identity of Brahman and Atman. So the knowledge of the identity of Brahman and Atman, from that Vijnanat, from that knowledge, Bhavati, what comes? Mithya Jnana Apaya. So the removal of erroneous knowledge comes from the knowledge of the identity of Brahman and Atman. So according to Nyaya Sutra also, this is how it is. And so karma is not required, or action is not required to get moksha. That means action means here we have to again understand Vedic means Vedic ritual. Vedic ritual is not necessary to attain moksha, or it is not possible for us to attain moksha by performing any Vedic ritual. So the contention of the Mimamsakas that one has to perform the Vedic rituals, even rituals of contemplation, to attain moksha has been set aside. The greatness of Sanatana Dharma, or the greatness of the philosophical traditions of Sanatana Dharma, is that Sanatana Dharma is established on disagreement. We don't simply agree to disagree. We are happy to disagree. In fact, we make it our work to disagree. So by disagreeing, you get moksha. So moksha is the, see, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are the purusharthas for all the 6 philosophies. No philosophy will say, no, for me, some separate purusharth. No. All philosophies have some idea about moksha. They might not say that that is how it is attained. They may differ what is God. They may differ what is Jagat. They may differ on what is Jiva. All that they will differ. But nobody differs on the fact that there is moksha. Nobody also differs on the fact that this is unreal. Now, to what extent it is unreal, what kind of unreality, everywhere there will be difference. And also Vedas also they will differ. How Vedas have to be, what is the meaning of a particular statement, everywhere there will be difference. But in difference, there will be no difference. That's the beauty. That we can disagree, there will nobody will disagree. Shankaracharya also, yes, that is your point, this is my point. So though you say it is your point, my point is this, and so I think this point is correct, like that. But they will not say, just because I think this point is correct, nobody should have any other point, it is pointless. Like that, no traditional Indian philosopher will say. And that is a problem in the world of religions, because nobody has seen such a religion. And that is why people who have not understood Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma started saying that it is a way of life. It's the way of life. It is not a way of life. It is a very clear-cut way of thinking. It's not just a way of thinking. It is a dharma. It is a Sanatana Dharma. It is a, again, for the want of better word, we use the word religion. And that's again the cause of problem. Because religion and dharma, as we all know, are totally different. So the point with the word religion is, you have everything dictated to the last detail. What kind of food you will eat, what kind of dress you should wear, when you have to sleep, when you have to work, everything has been dictated. It's like a huge list of do's and don'ts. And when Sanatana Dharma does not have such a list, people say, oh, it is no religion, it's only a way of life. That those people also, they were supposed to be great scholars. I'm not telling the name here now, but people who know, they know. So he wrote, this person, very great scholar, he wrote a book, Hinduism, a way of life. Finished. So what way of life? People say, oh, it's not a religion, it's only a way of life. So we don't need to bother. Let us talk about other religions, which are really religions. Now, Hinduism is, because all these other religions, they could not simply comprehend the fact that there could be a religion which will be based on disagreement. And how much it is based on disagreement. Vedas say there is no use reading this Vedas. You cannot go beyond that. That the holy book of Sanatana Dharma, that is the Vedas, they say there is no point in just studying the Vedas. So you have to go beyond this. That kind of disagreement. So that kind of braveness, that kind of boldness, that is bravery, that kind of boldness is there in the Sanatana Dharma. And so people who do not understand it, they say there can be no Indian philosophy, there can be no Hindu philosophy. Hinduism is not a religion, it's a way of life. These are all actually downright foolish, stupid, because they have not understood what is being told. Very much philosophy. It is more philosophy than any other philosophy in this world, because so much philosophizing means to critique, to contradict, to question, to challenge, and all this there only in Sanatana Dharma. The very concept of opponent, Purva Paksha, you will not find in other religions. There is no religion, will be like they're all dogmatic. Do this. Why? I am telling you, do this. Finish. There's no question. Do this. There's no experimentation. And do this. That's all. If you don't do, then you are not, you will have to, we will throw you away from this religion like this. So here that is not the case. So that is why Sanatana Dharma has to be understood very clearly by people who claim to be Hindus. That is another beauty in Sanatana Dharma. People who claim to be Hindus do not know anything about Hinduism. And so these people will go and study books written by people who are not Hindus, who think they have understood Hinduism, and then they will read that and say, I have read Vedas and I have read that book written by somebody, some professor born and brought up in some country, and then they will say, I have figured out all the Vedas. So that is the problem. So this Sanatana Dharma, the context is that you challenge your knowledge, you challenge your understanding so much that finally you will understand that you have to go beyond understanding. That is what the Upanishads say. That is what the Vedas say. That there is no argumentation, there is no disagreement. You have to go beyond everything, and then you will understand your true nature. So this is the whole exercise of Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras, as commented by Shankaracharya or by Ramanujacharya or by Madhvacharya, Vallabhacharya, Vijnana Bhikshu, you can go on and on. Whomsoever has commented on the Brahma Sutras, they have followed this tradition of challenging, disagreeing, and having a kind of a tennis volley. Means this shot goes there and that shot comes here. This kind of a question answer or a conversation, a dialogue. There is a dialogue. And there, the purpose of the dialogue is to clarify all the problems, gray areas, as we say, to clear the loose ends and to establish one's standpoint. But even if one standpoint is established, nobody says that this is the final truth. That also one can see. That's what we have understood, but it's not the final truth. Final truth is what? Final truth is what we see is not true. That is only final truth. This is the only thing people agree upon. Not to agree about this reality of the universe. That is the only thing these six philosophies agree upon. That we are not going to agree about the reality of this universe, or even we are not going to agree about the unreality of the universe. It's a beautiful thing. If you think about it, it's a beautiful thing. And so that is why we have to understand this concept that unless you deny what is presented to your sense organs, you cannot know what you really are. Unless you deny what is being presented to your sense organs. And when I say sense organs, it also automatically includes the mind. Unless you deny what is being presented to your sense organs, you can never know what you truly are. And that is why this questioning, constant questioning, challenging, and then finally understanding. How does a devotee do that? Okay, now we are reading Veda, Brahma Sutra, Bhashya, etc. And we are studying Upanishads, etc. What about a devotee who is just taking the name of Lord? So that the very expression just taking the name of Lord is wrong, because name of Lord is everything. So one who is taking the name of Lord, one who is repeating the mantra, what about that person? So that person, that is a different kind of disagreeing. Disagreeing with lack of faith. Disagreeing with lack of faith, disagreeing with surrender to the world, and agreeing with faith and agreeing with surrender to God. But agreeing means what? Using agreement or using surrender to God and faith to disagree with this surrender to world and faithlessness. That is bhakti. That is bhakti. So that is why whenever somebody thinks, oh, there is so much of, oh, this Mimamsa said, now we are saying, no, this is not that. Then automatically there will be a thinking, there will be a thought, oh, so much of argumentation, what is the necessary? We don't want to go into so much argumentation. We just want to take the name of Lord and be happy. So if there is vyakulata, if there is yearning, if there is an urgency to understand the true nature of a person, why? Because the urgency will come when you really understand what you are now, where you are caught up now. If you understand that you are caught up in this Maya, then you will be feeling that restlessness to get out of Maya. Our problem is we are totally unaware. That is why Shankaracharya, in the beginning itself, he is proving that there is Maya. Adhyasa Bhashya, he proved that there is Adhyasa. Because without that, there is no point in studying the Brahma Sutra. Then it is just like you are studying another text. So only if there is ignorance, you need to get out of ignorance. So the urgency has to be created. The urgency has to be understood. Urgency is there, but it has to be understood. So you may be very healthy, and then you go to a doctor, and then finally you find out that there are so many problems. Actually, you thought you are healthy, and then this test, then you have so much problem. Then they give you a diet chart, and then you start eating like this. I don't know for how many days, but at least for some days that goes on. Why? Because suddenly now there is an urgency to control the metabolism of your body. So like that, once we realize that there is an urgency with this world, or the urgency that we are caught up in Maya, then we will be fully engaged in understanding what our true nature is and what actually God is, or the ultimate nature Brahman is, and how to get that knowledge, or how to get realization of self, how to get moksha. That will be there. So this urgency is what is the key factor here. because there is no urgency, or we don't understand that. That is why we have this laid back attitude. Ah, yes, very good. By God's grace, everything is going on. My children, all they got good marks in the examinations, and now they will get good admission, and they will be married, and they will be settled. And so now I am also very nice. And so now because I don't have anything much better to do, now let me study the Brahma Sutra. That kind of a situation will arise. Okay, if you think it is too personal and too specific, okay, I was not intending that, but sometimes it may happen. So that's that situation also may arise, and that should not happen. One should have vyakulata, one should have yearning. How will that come? If you have the knowledge, if you are aware that what you were and what you have become, where you have got, Sri Ramakrishna says, Brahma pade kande panchabhutir phade. So Brahman, Brahman is crying, caught up in the noose or snare of 5 elements. Panchabhutir phade, the noose, that is the noose which the hangman noose, so where they are hung or people hang themselves. So that is noose, and caught up in that noose of 5 elements, Brahman is crying. So when we understand that that is our plight, then there will be this urgency. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Is there any question, or
yes, Swamiji, this is Ramya from Bangalore. So in the beginning of the class, you were talking about how after realization, the person feels, I am the same as who was Manu and who is the sun. You made that statement. So I need some clarity on that, because realization essentially means transcending the body-mind complex, right? So post that, somebody would want to still identify with some past being, maybe in the past, or some being yet to come in the future. I don't get why again he would lapse into that identification with a particular body mind. You started the class with,
that is not my statement. That is a quotation from
yeah, okay.
Okay. And second is, it is not body mind. What is being said is, it is not an attachment to a particular body and mind. What is being said is that this body and mind, or this Sukshma Sharira, that is the subtle body, and gross body, they are of the nature of dying and being born again and again. So they are in the transmigratory cycle. So they are coming again and again and again. It is just like in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says that that I have also born so many times. I have born so many times, and you have also born so many times. Sri Krishna says that. So there, what is the meaning? That means you are Atman, that is not born. But this body and mind, that Atman which is wrongly identifying itself with the body and mind, that is born again and again.
So the purpose of that statement is basically to demonstrate that Sarvatma Bhava?
No. The purpose of the statement is to understand. So, for example, say you studied in a school, no? So did you go to kindergarten?
Yes.
Yeah. The point is not that whether you went to the kindergarten. Now, after being, after passing so many years, you still identify that you went to the kindergarten, right? So of course, here you might be identifying with the body and mind, but the point is you know that you are the person who went to kindergarten, though now the person who went to the kindergarten is totally different. Intellectually and also physically speaking, you have grown. So you are now no more the person who went to kindergarten, but there is a continuum, right? You are identifying with that continuum. It's like Bhagavan Buddha says that before this I took so many births. So I am the same person, that I am the same principle, that kind of knowledge. That's why
Except
I gave you
that
that
here,
example. Huh?
yeah, sorry. Yeah, no,
No, what,
so what I was saying was, when you say there is a continuum, we are talking about, for want of another word, let's say one individual sort of transmigratory existence. We're looking at all the births of one person, right? Like even when Krishna says, I have taken so many births.
no, so what person? There is the person is what? The person is a wrong understanding of Atman. That is the person there.
Because when we look at it that way, then every, well, again in quotes, person who has ever come into existence or taken birth, now that identification will be with all of that, right? Because if you look at it from the point of view of Atman, because then there is only one.
No, that's what. But do those people have that identification? That's the point. See, the ordinary people don't have that identification. They will say, this is the body I am in and I am going to die. People don't identify themselves to be one continuum. Actually, we don't know also. That is why in the Shastra Yonitvad, that particular sutra, it was argued by Shankaracharya that it is only the scriptures which talk about one jiva, which is continuing throughout various births. No other place we get this knowledge. Are you following?
Yeah.
That knowledge, that one particular jiva passes through different births, it is the same jiva. There is a continuity. This knowledge we receive only from the Vedas, from the Upanishads. We don't receive it from any other place because we can't see. We don't know what happens after death. So a person who is aware of that one continuum, that means Atman, only that person can say that I was Manu.
Okay.
That is why that Suktam I quoted, where Devi Suktam, where this is told. Aham Rudre Vir Vasubhish Charamyaham. So I am Rudra, I am Vasu. She is telling that because she identifies herself with everything, all the gods. So there also these gods are all, these are all basically posts, just like Manu, Rudra, all that is post. But she is also saying that I am that. That means what? I am everything. I am everything. So similarly, Manu also a post. So that also is a different manifestation of the same Brahman. That kind of thing.
Okay.
So was it
Thank you so much.
of any help?
Yeah, no, I got it. I got it. Thank you so much.
Any other question? Smriti?
No questions, Swamiji.
Okay.
The chat box also is no question.
Okay. Shubharatri. Shubharatri.